The ballroom shimmered under the soft gold light of chandeliers, every crystal drop catching reflections of champagne and laughter. The scent of expensive perfume and polished ambition hung thick in the air. Lena adjusted the strap of her navy evening gown, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her clutch as she scanned the crowd. She had been at corporate functions before, but never one like this. This was the annual Holt Enterprises Gala, where the biggest names in the industry gathered to toast mergers, milestones, and themselves. Her team had been given invitations because their marketing campaign had gone viral that quarter. It should have been a night to celebrate, to network, to finally be seen. But Lena had made one critical miscalculation. Her ex, Aaron, was also invited. She caught sight of him across the room before he saw her. Same tailored suit, same self-assured grin that had once seemed charming, now only smug. Her stomach twisted. She had told herself she wouldn't care, that she was over it, but the way her chest tightened said otherwise. She turned quickly, pretending to be interested in the dessert table. Maybe he wouldn't notice her. Maybe she could slip out early and no one would mind. Lena, her pulse stuttered. She closed her eyes briefly before turning around with a carefully polite smile. Aaron, hi. He looked exactly as he had the last time they'd spoken. Expensive, immaculate, and just a little too sure of himself. You look, wow, didn't expect to see you here. I work here, she said lightly, clutching her glass a little tighter. He laughed, the sound grating. Right, marketing. How's that going? Busy. He stepped closer. Too close. The faint smell of his cologne, once familiar, now suffocating, made her want to back away. You could have called, you know, he said, voice lowered. After everything, we could have ended things better. I think we ended things just fine. She tried to move sideways, but he mirrored her. His hand came up to her elbow, gentle but firm. Lena, come on. Don't be like that. Let's talk. Just for a minute. Her throat tightened. Around them, people laughed, glasses clinked, and the orchestra swelled. No one noticed her discomfort. She glanced around, searching for a polite escape. Someone, anyone. And then she saw him. A tall man stood near the balcony doors, partly in shadow, a drink in hand. His suit was darker than most, the fit impeccable but understated. He wasn't part of the loud circles of executives and their spouses. He stood slightly apart, observant, composed. His eyes met hers briefly across the distance, steady, unreadable, but not unkind. Before she could talk herself out of it, words tumbled out. Can you kiss me? He's here. The stranger blinked once, surprised. Then his gaze flicked toward Aaron, who was still beside her, and back to her again. There was a heartbeat of silence, then he moved. He crossed the space between them with a calm, deliberate confidence that made the air change. Lena barely had time to register the scent of his cologne, something crisp and clean like rain on metal, before his hand found the small of her back. Sorry I'm late, he said quietly, voice low enough for her alone. Her breath caught. Then his lips touched hers. It wasn't a deep kiss, not even long, but it was sure, warm, grounding, a shield against the noise and the memory of Aaron's hand on her arm. For one surreal moment, she forgot everything. The crowd, the music, her own pounding heart. The world tilted around the single steady point of him. When he pulled back, her head felt light. She blinked up at him, her pulse wild and disbelieving. Aaron stood frozen, mouth open. What the hell? The stranger didn't look at him. You should leave, he said, evenly, still keeping one arm loosely around Lena's waist. She doesn't seem interested in conversation. Aaron's jaw tightened. You her boyfriend. The man's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. Tonight, I am. A few nearby guests had begun to glance over, curious but polite enough not to stare. Aaron muttered something under his breath, stepped back, and walked away with forced dignity. Lena exhaled shakily. She could still feel the heat where the stranger's hand rested against her back. I'm so sorry, she stammered. That was completely unexpected, he offered, finally looking at her fully. His eyes were gray, cool and steady. Yes, I didn't mean to. I just didn't know what else to do. You don't need to apologize. His hand dropped away, though his presence still felt close, tangible. You looked like you needed rescuing. I did. She let out a breath that trembled into a small laugh. Thank you. I owe you, well, something. Maybe a drink. He glanced down at the untouched glass in his hand. I already have one. Right. She felt ridiculous, standing there flustered. Then, thank you, seriously. He studied her for a moment. Are you all right? Yes, she said automatically, though her voice came out softer than intended. Or I will be. That was just not how I planned to spend the evening. Not many people plan to be ambushed at a gala. There was a flicker of amusement in his tone now, restrained but genuine. I just wanted to make it through the night without drama, she said. But apparently, I attract chaos. Maybe chaos isn't always bad. She tilted her head, unsure if he was teasing her. That depends on the kind. He raised his glass slightly, as though toasting the idea. Then let's hope tonight's the good kind. For the first time that evening, Lena smiled without forcing it. You're surprisingly calm for someone who just got roped into a stranger's ridiculous plan. I've been in worse situations, he said. Though not many involving unexpected kisses. Her cheeks warmed. Sorry about that, again. He looked at her with a faint glint in his eyes. You already apologized. I accepted. No harm done. The orchestra shifted to a slower melody. Around them, couples drifted to the dance floor. Lena hesitated, feeling the awkwardness settle now that the adrenaline was fading. Well, she said, I should probably stay, he interrupted gently. Just until you're sure he's not coming back. She looked toward the direction Aaron had gone. He's probably sulking near the bar. Then it's safer here. There was no pressure in his tone, no expectation, just quiet assurance. She nodded and stayed. They talked, at first awkwardly, then more easily. He asked about her work, and she told him about the campaign she'd led, the one that got her team the invite. He listened, not in the polite, distracted way most men at these events did, but with real focus. When she made a self-deprecating joke about burning out on deadlines, his smile reached his eyes. I know what that's like, he said. Do you? She teased lightly. You don't strike me as someone who loses sleep over marketing reports. He chuckled, a low sound. You'd be surprised what keeps me up at night. She couldn't tell if that was a flirtation or a confession. At some point, a waiter passed by with champagne, and he swapped her empty glass for a full one with practiced ease. Their fingers brushed briefly. The contact was small, accidental, but it sent a spark through her that made her acutely aware of how close he stood. She tried to steady herself by focusing on something safe. I don't think I caught your name. He hesitated, then said simply, Adrian. Lena, I know, he said quietly. She blinked. You, no. He gave a small, almost rueful smile. Your team's campaign. I saw the presentation earlier this week. Impressive work. Oh, she felt a flicker of pride chase away some of her nerves. You watched that. I didn't think anyone outside our department paid attention. I make a habit of paying attention, he said, and something in the way he said it made her heart skip. The conversation moved easily again after that. She found herself laughing, genuinely this time, at his understated humor. The rest of the room faded to a background hum. The earlier embarrassment was still there, but it had softened into something else, a strange, charged calm. When she finally glanced at the clock, nearly an hour had passed. I should probably go, she said reluctantly. Big day tomorrow. He nodded. Of course. As they moved toward the exit, she realized she didn't want to end the night on a simple thank you. If you ever need a marketing miracle, she said, half joking, you know where to find me. I'll remember that, she smiled, then hesitated at the door. And thank you again, for stepping in. You didn't have to. He looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable but gentle. You looked like you needed someone to be on your side. Everyone should have that once in a while. The words stayed with her long after she left the ballroom. Outside, the city air was cool, the sound of traffic distant. She let out a long breath, her mind replaying the moment, the feel of his hand steadying her, the warmth of his voice. She didn't even know his last name. But as she rode home that night, something restless and bright stirred under her ribs. For the first time in months, she wasn't thinking about what she'd lost or what she had to prove. She was thinking about gray eyes and a quiet smile that made the chaos feel almost worth it.